Okay, sir. Good evening to all of you. I am Pawan Acharya, and today I'm back with another part of our series. I hope everyone is able to hear me. If yes, just drop a thumbs up in the comment section. So let's begin today's session. And today we're going to look at AngularJS directives. So to begin with, today we are referring W3 School, and today the topic will be AngularJS directives. So let's begin. AngularJS lets you extend HTML with new attributes called directives. So AngularJS has a set of built-in directive which offers functionality to your applications. AngularJS also lets you define your own directives. So directives are basically one form of functionality that is provided to the AngularJS applications. If we want to say that in simple words, that is what it means. So using directives, we can create, like, it gives functionality to the HTML code, and it is written in the form of ng hyphen, and after that directive names will be written. So the most basic directives are ng-app, ng-init, ng-model. So these are the most commonly used directives that we come across very often. Like in the previous classes also, we had noticed that uh, so in the previous class also we had noticed these directives which we had used in several programs that we referred in the previous class. So today also we are going to refer some small programs and understand the basic meaning of each of the directives. So the first directive is NGApp. So what do you mean by this is basically it creates that specific part of the HTML code into application of AngularJS. So if we go by this code, let's try it out. See, here we have written NGApp in the division section, right? Div section. So this div section will be an app or application. We can write this in body tag also. So let's make that change. Even if we write, let's cut this and put it into body tag. Even if this is there, then it will work. Right, see, it's working. And if we put this in the body section, then the whole body section will be an application of AngularJS. If it is present in the div section, sorry, NGApp. If it is present in the div section, then this much part is application of AngularJS. But if this part is present in the HTML tag itself, then the whole code will be AngularJS application. So that is what it means by this NGApp directive. I hope you got this. And if we write it in the HTML tag, then too it will work. So that is the main fundamental meaning of this directive. Okay. So let's move on to the next directive, that is NGInit. So what do you mean by this directive is, it is an abbreviation of initialization. It initializes application data. Okay. This ng-init is used to initialize application data. So as we mentioned here in the div class NGInit, where we have mentioned first name is John. So here we are initializing first name variable whose value will be John. Okay, so that's why here in the output section it's giving us John as first name. And if we change it to something else, it will be displayed here. Okay. So NGInit is a directive where we can initialize certain objects or variables. Okay. I hope you are getting it. So the next directive is NGModel. So NGModel, as it's mentioned here, it binds the value of HTML controls to application data. So what it means is it binds two concepts. That is, one concept is HTML controls. What do you mean by HTML controls? Is this input section, text area, and all. So that section is binded with the application data that is being input in through the users. So those two entities are getting bind using NGModel directive. Okay, so let's look at this example here. As we saw, there is one HTML control tag here, that is input tag. Okay, here we have to bind the data which is being input in that part with a variable name, right? So we are mentioning the variable name inside the NGModel, that is first name, which will be binded with the input that we are giving in this input control tag. Okay. So as here we are writing you wrote, and in expression we are mentioning the variable first name, right? So this is binded with NGModel's first name. Okay. So when we are writing something here, let's say I'll write my name itself, Pawan. So when we are writing this input is binded with this model, and this model is being displayed, right? So that's why it is being displayed in this you wrote section. Okay, I hope you're getting it. So that's the main function of NGModel. So let's move on to the next part. So here also we are talking about data binding once again with the help of another example. So here we are, let's solve this example. Okay. So here in this code, data NGApp, This is another syntax for that. This division class is the application now. And here we are initializing the value of quantity as 1 and price as 5 using NGInit. Okay. Using NGInit directive, we are initializing variable quantity as 1 and variable price as 5. After that, this program is basically for calculating the cost of certain item. Okay. So this is the formula for that. Like if there are two chocolates worth 5 rupees each, then we have to multiply the quantity with the price of each chocolate, right? That's why we have mentioned here quantity multiplied with price. Okay. So that is the main logic of this simple program. And here we are taking input from the user, that is input type. Type will be number because the quantity will be always in number format, numerical format. And here we are writing NGModel. So this quantity variable will be binded with this input. That is, quantity's input will be binded with the variable known as quantity. And the input, which is after the price tag, after this price label, that input will be binded with a variable known as price. Okay. So whenever we make changes in the price tag, that is 4, so that will be binded with this label, or we can say it will be binded with this input control. So if we put input in this part, that is in this price part, then it will be reflected into this section of the code. That is, if we write 4 here, then the 4 value will be replaced with this price, which is present inside this expression, and it will be multiplied with the quantity, that is 1, which will be finally displayed on the screen after this total in dollar. Okay. So that's how data binding is happening here using this quantity and price variable. I hope you are getting it. If yes, just drop a thumbs up in the comment section. Okay, now let's move on to the next part. So now we're going to look at a new directive, that is ng repeat. So basically, ng repeat is just like for loops or some loops which we use in other coding languages. So it will repeat certain things. As the name suggests, it will repeat certain things. So what will it repeat? In this code, it will repeat X in names. So let's try this code out. So here again, we are making this division class as application, and we are initializing certain object. And as you can see, this object is kind of different from the previous ones, as here we are mentioning array of objects, which is present inside names. So array of values is present inside one object, that is names. So here this one element is considered as X. Okay. And we can say that each element in this array is considered as X. So that's why we want to, if we want to repeat it, we can say that X present inside names should be repeated and should be displayed. Okay. So what this ng repeat does is it will repeat this X name until this gets over. Okay. So first it will go inside this li and that is list tag, and it will see ng repeat and X in names. So first Jani will be printed, and as this is unordered list, that is UL, that's why this bulletin points is displayed here, and after that X in names, right? So the first name is Jani, and Jani is being displayed here, and the second name is Hege. So as it is in the form of list, unordered list, after the bulletin point, Hege is displayed, and finally the last name Kai is being displayed with the help of this expression, that is X. So here X corresponds to each name present inside this names array. Okay, okay. So now let's move on to the next part. Yeah, now again we have one example here. Let's look into this example. So what we are doing here is there is one object here called as names, which is in the form of array, but inside that dictionary is present in the form of name is the key here and Kai is the value, country is the key here, and Denmark is the value of this particular dictionary. Such that such similar dictionaries are present inside this names array. Okay. So don't get confused with this names and name. Those two are different variables. Okay. So here we are initializing names array inside which we have three dictionaries. That is, one dictionary contains Jani as name and Norway as country. Second dictionary contains Hege as name and Sweden as country. Third dictionary contains Kai as name and country as Denmark. Okay. So if we want to repeat or print each of this dictionary, then we can use ng repeat so that it can loop, and we can use less amount of codes in that. So if we write X name inside X in names inside this ng repeat, then what it means is each dictionary will be displayed continuously, and it will keep on displaying until this whole array is already displayed. Okay. So here to display each value of the key, we have to mention X dot name, because this a dictionary is present inside the array, right? So that's why we have to mention X dot name. So it will go like X of this name, X of this name, X of this name. Okay. And after that, we'll concatenate it with one comma, and again we'll display the country corresponding country name using X dot country. So that's why the output goes like this. as it is present inside this unordered list, it will be displayed after a bulletin point, that is Jani, as Jani is the first name. So it will go in a sequential manner. So Jani, comma, Norway, Hege, comma, Sweden, Kai, comma, Denmark. Okay, so that's what is the function of this ng repeat. Okay, so let's move on to the next part. So the next part is creating new directories. In addition to all the built-in AngularJS directives, you can create your own directives also using dot directive function. Okay. To invoke the new directive, make an HTML tag with the same tag name as the new directive. Okay. When naming a directive, you must use camel case. That is, the first letter will be lowercase, and the second word of that same name, its first initial will be uppercase, and so on. Okay. But when invoking it, you must use hyphen separated name. That is, each word should be separated with the help of this hyphen. Okay. So let's look on to this example to understand it even clearly. So what the main aim of this AngularJS application is to display made by directive. It is very simple program. So first, as it was mentioned, to create a directive, we have to name the we have to make a tag, HTML tag, using the name of the directive, but it should be separated using hyphen. So that's why we are creating one HTML tag whose name is similar to the directive which we are creating, but instead of camel case, it's being separated with hyphens. So that's how the tag should be created, which is corresponding to the directive which we are creating. Okay. And after that, inside the script tag, we are writing where app, and here we are creating one module whose name will be my app. And after that, inside that module, we are creating a directive with the help of this variable, that is application app.directive. So as we mentioned previously, to create our own directive, we have to use dot directive, right? So that's why we have written app.directive. And what will be the directive's name? That is W3 test directive. And as the rule mentions, the directive should be written, directive's name should be written in camel case. That's why W is lowercase here, T is uppercase, and D is uppercase. And inside this directive, we are creating a function which will return a template, which contains h1 tag. Inside that h1 tag, made by directive is written. Okay. So this tag invokes this part of the AngularJS, and this gets displayed. That is made by directive, which is present in h1 tag. That's why it is uh, much bigger in size. Okay. I hope you're getting it. So while creating these directives, there are certain restrictions. You can restrict your directives to be only invoked by some methods, like to invoke it for with the help of certain methods. These restrictions are being used by the directives. So let's look on to the example. So it is same as the previous program. Here we are creating the tag whose name is corresponding to the directive that we are creating. And inside that, we are mentioning restrict A. Okay. So with the help of this, we can do what we can do is by setting the restrict property to A, only the HTML element with the directive name as W3 test directive attributes has invoked the directive. Okay. So what it means is, if any other directive wants to invoke this certain directive, it won't be applicable because we have mentioned here restrict A. So it will be restricting other properties to invoke this specific directive, that is W3 test directive. Okay. So A, what it means by A is it will restrict the attribute. And if we, instead of A, if we mention E, then element name will be restricted. And if we mention M, then the comment will be restricted. If we mention class C, then the class will be restricted. And this restriction property is by default, its by default value is EA, which means element's name and attribute's name can invoke the directive. Okay. So what we mean by this restrict A is that that specific uh, directive can be invoked by attributes only. Okay. So that is the main functionality of this restrict function of the directive that we are creating. I hope you understood the concept. And today's directive concept ends with this topic. I hope you understood all the topics today. And if you have any doubts, then you can surely ask in the comment section. Or else we can end this live. Okay. I think no one is asking the questions in the comment section. Okay, that's all from my side. Ciao.